People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good evening. Now, on Sunday, festive period, games are coming thick and fast. Arsenal play Chelsea, London derby, Arsenal versus Chelsea. There's been games where I'd say both teams, it'd be fair to say both teams have been in stronger state. Obviously, when Arsenal was beginning to fall off in terms of being a Premier League challenger, there was many years where Drogba just used to bully Arsenal players, and Senderos, Ahmed Traore, there's bare men that probably have nightmares and get scared of the very name that is Didier Drogba. I've seen them bully us many times. Yeah. Obviously, in recent years, we've scored a couple points on them at the Emirates, ironically, where we're playing. Remember when Alexis and Ozil did their thing there. Hopefully, it's a positive game for us, people. And I personally feel it's going to be a good game of football. It's not going to be a good game of football for me because I'm an Arsenal fan, but the way I saw Arteta trying to play without drawing conclusions, based on what I believe his philosophy potentially could be and how he played in our previous game, and just how Lampard is, I believe it will be obviously a good encounter and one for the neutrals. For me, it comes down to, these games for me always come down to the fine margins. It comes down to, first and foremost, forget all statistics and stats because they all go out the window. It comes down to desire, it comes down to passion, it comes down to being able, to hold the nerve and feeding off the energy of the crowd. Now, for Arsenal and Arsenal fans specifically, I'm hoping that, obviously, with our expectations of this football club on the floor right now because of how we've been playing, how we are, Arteta gets our full support because, like us, he sympathises with us and there's not much he can do right now because of the mess that's been Arsenal. But we're going to get behind him because there's no disgruntlement with Emre still being in the position and all these things. So for Arteta's sake, I think we're going to get behind the team. But it's down to the team to repay Arteta's faith, repay the fans' faith and feed off that energy. It comes down to desire. There's no point getting scared. Now for Chelsea need to get back to winning ways because they look to shoe in of sorts for top four. Ironically, I'm sure if you offered many Chelsea fans this position, similar to Leicester fans in their respective position, if you offered them this in September, Chelsea fans would take it. Right now, it's a bit like, whoa, like we should have won this game and that game, but transfer ban, Lampard's come in, this and that. People weren't exactly optimistic and they're in a good position. It's been a bit of a mess, the league has been, if you're not, in my opinion, if you're not Leicester and you're not Liverpool and to a degree City, because they're City, you've been quite poor and the league's been quite poor. And I think, considering Chelsea have kind of lost a couple games recently, recently the 2-0 victory, the 2-0 defeat to Southampton, the victory for Southampton, it's been quite poor really. They need to get back to winning ways. Fans, probably for the first time this season, are probably not saying Lampard out, but asking legitimate questions of what's going right, what's going wrong. And what better way to shut people up, what better Christmas gift, what better last game of 2019 could be better for Chelsea than to claim it at Arsenal. And one thing is, for both teams, I don't feel either team should sit back. I feel, looking at Chelsea, they're better than us in my opinion. Their philosophy's there and whatnot, but I think they give chances and half chances. And even though Spurs lost, I think Spurs had enough chances to try and score. We'll get on to it because I think Spurs were also tactically outdone, but they give them chances. It's well known, even though Chelsea play good football and are scoring a lot of goals, I'm sure many Chelsea fans would say, to a degree, they're potentially not breaking down teams as ruthlessly as they could, or they're potentially struggling more so to do that than they should be. So there's that. It's also well known, if you take the lead against Chelsea, with Arsenal's defence, who knows? And David Luiz might try and be an agent like Peter Cech was doing when we played them. It's banter. We might still concede goals as well, but I think it's a game where it's not like we're playing City where we should have a defeative mentality. Chelsea will pick you apart in two passes. You've got players like Willian, they've got some good players, but I feel we've got to be brave. We've got to have a goal. We've got to press their 3 at the back, 4 at the back, and whatnot, because their ball play, they can play very well when pressed. So imagine how dumb it is to give Rudiger time to Mori if they play 3 at the back. Zuma's not. He's okay with it at his feet, but I wouldn't really say he's a ball playing centre-half. But generally, the team need no introduction to start their passages of play and whatnot. You know Mount is going to press us as well. It's going to be a decent game, man. Lampard's going to want to get the victory. We're going to. The only thing I keep thinking in my head is energy. Like, just, for me, if I was betting my money on this, I'd always bet Arsenal. But if it was me advising someone, people, I'd say bet Chelsea, not to be pessimistic, just because of, obviously, regardless of their form, Lampard's put his blueprint there. Arteta's still trying to do that, and these players, regardless, it might have been positive there might have been positives of sort to take from the last game, but really there were positives because we've been poor. That's not me being pessimistic. That's just me talking facts. Like, it gave me a lot of pleasure, that performance, because we've been poor recently, but in the grand scheme of things, it was atrocious, really and truly, like how Arsenal should be playing. And it's Arteta's just taking the role. So with that, Chelsea should, want to pile on the pressure, make Arteta sit there and think at half-time, boy, I thought I had work to do. I've got even more work to do. When we conceded against Bournemouth, I said it in my post-game, the only criticism I have from that game is, and actually to the end of the first half, when we conceded that goal, we went back into old habits. We started well, pressing, playing with a bit of zip. You had Maitland-Niles going inside in midfield. You had Xhaka coming to protect Saka and let him go forward. I think a lot of the movement wasn't good enough in general, but apologies, people, I'm dying, man. I was dying. But like I said, a lot of the movement stopped. A lot of the movement wasn't amazing in general, but there was some movement. There was more movement and more shots and these things than we've seen in recent games. But when we conceded, it looked like we got our heads down. Like, oh gosh. And obviously we're still low on confidence. So if I'm Tammy Abraham with these centre-halves that have a problem with any physical threat, I'm going to want to press them. I'm going to force mistakes because even still, Bournemouth had joy. We still got, to be fair, we got out of there when they were pressing us high, trying to play out from the back. But we invented our own mistakes. The goal we conceded through Saka and Aubameyang obviously being caught, Saka mainly, we invented that mistake because they pressed us. Now if I'm Chelsea, you go and do the same thing. It makes sense to do the exact same thing, people. Come on now. Statistically, we might as well pre the stats quick. Arsenal have won 2 of their last 3 games at home against Chelsea in the Premier League, drawing 1. As many as we did in our previous 12, losing 5, drawing 5. So like I said, there was a time where they just bullied us. And there's bragging rights, man. I've got a couple of men that support Chelsea, and I want to be able to block their WhatsApp talking nonsense, man. I don't want them to talk nonsense to me. So, bragging rights on the line, boys. But Chelsea lost this exact fixture 2-0 in January. They've not lost consecutive league games against Arsenal since October 2011, where they last lost back-to-back away league games against them. While they last lost back-to-back league games against them in October 2003. Arsenal have never lost a Premier League game. I'm making hard work of reading this. Arsenal have never lost a Premier League home game against Chelsea when they scored the first goal, winning 11, drawing 4 of their 15 such games. I'd never saw that stat, but that kind of goes into what I was saying earlier, statistically, I guess. Arsenal lost their final league game of 2018 5-1 against Liverpool. They've not lost their last league game in consecutive calendar years since 94-95 versus QPR and Wimbledon. So don't get smoked on the last day of the year, man. Let's get some confidence. At least get some confidence going into that United game, because beyond the rivalries and the stature of the two clubs, the United game's a different game for me. Similar circumstances, but a bit different. But let's get some confidence going into that. It's not exactly playing City is my point. Don't make no mistake, United are a good team in comparison to us, and they've got enough problems to give us. But moving back to this, it said Chelsea have only lost their final league game in one of the last 16 calendar years. Arsenal have lost their last 2 home Premier League games against Brighton and City, as you know. They last lost 3 in a row at home in the top flight back in March 1997. In all competitions, Arsenal have at least conceded twice in each of their last 4 home games, which is poor. Why did that go? Sorry, people, I came off the page. Is there any more relevant stats? None of Chelsea's 9 Premier League games this season have ended level, winning 6, losing 3, with only Liverpool having won more games on the road in the Premier League this season than the Blues. So the Blues know how to travel. In fact, that's well known. Their home form, they actually got some problems at home than away. So they know how to travel. They can put up with away and noisy crowds. And statistically, they've got good form. And I mean, if you hear Arsenal have conceded at least twice at home in consecutive games, or whatever the stat I just said was, that should give you confidence, really and truly. If Chelsea lose again, then for the first time potentially this campaign, there'll be real question marks on Chelsea's manager. Irrelevant stat, but just an odd one. 28 of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's 44 Premier League goals for Arsenal have been scored on Sundays. The highest ratio of any player with at least 40 goals in the competition. So if anyone's going to score a goal, is it going to be Aubameyang? And moving on to Chelsea, people. Now, obviously, Chelsea's form have been a bit inconsistent. You look at the game against Everton where they went away from home and lost. You look at their home game against Southampton. You look at how they lost it at the death against Bournemouth. Chelsea do concede cheap goals, and they do need a centre-half in my opinion, and they do need to keep more clean sheets by their own standards, not in comparison to us, because every team's got a better defence than us, more or less, people. But they're a good side. Like, for me, I just think of the Spurs game. I think they were tactically superb, people. And they set up something unofficially like this, really. Because you obviously had the three... what's that? Don't know what that was. But you had the three at the back. Apologies if you can't see. We obviously had the three at the back in Zuma, Rudiger and Tomori. Now, obviously, they're a ball-playing side. They're a ball-playing side, so they're going to get higher up the field. And that's going to... And this is why we need to be brave in possession. We need to be doing what we was doing to a degree against... I keep forgetting who we played now. Bournemouth. Don't keep gifting possession back to this Chelsea side, because they're a very good side in possession. They're a very good progressive side. They've got Kovacic, they've got players. Midfield is crucial as well, because they've obviously got Kante. So, in terms of dynamism and the engine room, he gives them another level. And Torreira's the only one that can do that. But midfield has got to be switched on. Especially, obviously, if they're playing with wing-backs, you can obviously see... If Chelsea dominate the game or we start moving scared, how they can... Willian's probably going to come out here. Mount will pick up little pockets. And you can see how 2v1 situations can quickly get made against our fullbacks if we have four at the back, people. Obviously, whoever plays up front or in the attacking positions, definitely don't run off the pitch. But whoever plays in them roles, people, is going to have to do their due diligence. But so is the wide men. I mean, the midfielders. They're going to have to help out. And I saw better encouragement. I said that's one of the problems at this team, on top of not following runners, where you've got to follow runners against Chelsea. You look at the goal Gosling scored against us. We didn't follow our runner. But I saw an improvement of that. That was something... There's many different aspects in our midfield we need to improve on. But not helping out in wide areas is one of them. And I saw a bit of that, or more recognition to that. Because Saka was going forward... And it's like Xhaka was covering this space, or covering that space to a degree. So, pardon me, with a greater emphasis on that, hopefully that's that. Really wanted to hold speaking out about this, but one thing that might be smart if they play three at the back against us as well is because you've obviously got Rudiger, who isn't slow, he's quite solid. And you've got you can play Reece James there if they want, but I would probably go Aspilicueta for experience purposes. It's a top six clash. That kind of cancels out Aubameyang, because you've got... Aubameyang can breeze him, but you've got a street-smart individual, going to make them fouls, positionally going to be switched on potentially. Apologies. And you've got a beast of a centre-half in Rudiger, and you've got reinforcements. Now, Aubameyang might start on the flanks again, or if he's in the middle, either way, I think he's going to end up trying to rely on pockets, because it doesn't make sense for Aubameyang, to stay up there, because he's not... It's no criticism of him. It's not the sort of striker he is. He's not going to be able to hold out with his back to goal, and he's not going to be able to do it against three physical specimen. And even young Tomori is a beast. Rudiger is quite strong. Zuma, I believe, is capable of a mistake, and he's one of them you got to coach for a game. But physically, he's not lacking either. So, and just on top of that, three don't go into one. So he's going to have to rely on pockets, and they've probably got it locked down. Again, that could have probably a bad effect for us, because naturally, if it's just him by himself, even if it's Lacazette, really, who's a bit more of a focal point, they're going to drop. Or naturally, if you're switched on as a centre-half, you can say, all right, cool, he's by himself. Fullbacks, go, man. Why are you here? We don't need you. Obviously, switch on, but go. We got Kante and that. Then they can obviously get higher up the field, and then he's going to drop, which means they're going to get further up the field. Obviously, he's going to have to press them when he can, but he can't press everybody. And if Chelsea are in possession, what happens now? Logically speaking, people, if a defender doesn't have to defend, what can he do? He can now get involved in the phase of play. And you've seen Rudiger on a regular basis bring it out from the back. Tomori, very good with playing it out from the back. It's not that we have to discourage it, but what we do off the ball is what's going to be spot on. And I also feel, just look at Harry Kane against them. Harry Kane was having to get in all pockets because they did a good job on that. I didn't think, nobody probably expected beyond Chelsea fans potentially, and Chelsea players, that they were going to go for it at the back. You've obviously got Kante, and I'd probably assume Kovacic as well. You've obviously got Tammy Abraham, and then you've got Mount, who in real time is probably going to be there, and you've got Willian doing something like that. Now, they could go with Pedro and Pulisic and go with traditional wingers, in which Saka is a young G, but he's not, and he's done all right, but he's not an out-and-out left-back. So go and get a real winger. Go against him. Maitland-Niles, he had a good game. He's had 2 decent games on the spin now, but he's not a natural fullback. Go and get them. We're a possession-based side. Let's go and get them. We'll win the midfield battle, but go and get them. We have to be brave in possession. I must admit, people, I'm very confused in relation to what sort of thing we should try and do, man, because I don't know, man. I don't know, because for me, it's the strikers that are complicating it for me, people. Also, really and truly, it's the strikers that complicate it, because Lacazette's form has been poor. It's been poor. But I do think there's a case to go 2 up front, people. But at the same time, I want to go 4-3-3. But at the same time, if I go with wingers, and this is why you saw everything here, because I've been debating this for a day now. But if I select wingers, and we do that, we do that Arsenal stuff where our midfielders are not in the game, Ozil, whoever's dropping, we've really got no hold in midfield. The wingers become irrelevant because they're not going to get the ball. There's 3 at the back anyways, and Chelsea are more switched on defensively, so they're going to outnumber us. Is there a point? Or if I go with a striker, apologies, let's bring the next one in. Or if I go with a striker, people, like 2 strikers, what happens then, people? Like, because we've surrounded the midfield, but I feel like I'm losing something on the flanks, because if it goes the other way where we're not in the game and this guy's pulling out here, Ozil's dropping, Lacazette's doing this, again, everything becomes irrelevant, people. Do you get it? Everything, because centre-halves can pull out and split a bit more. And their centre-halves can pick nice passes as well. It doesn't always have to be slow and patient. They've not just done that. Obviously, you've seen Chelsea play. I'm focusing more on the 3 at the back. But you've seen the variations of 3 at the back, and what I showed you is more what happens technically in game. Mount's a good presser as well. I have to give him that. But you've seen them play 4-3-3. You've seen a 4-2-3-1. They're a fairly adaptable side. And if it was an Arsenal, I wasn't an Arsenal fan, I'd be looking forward to this game, to be fair, because it is a good game for the neutrals, really. I'm confused in relation to what to do, people. I would probably bottle it and go 3 at the back. 4-3-3. But it's like, Ozil created his chances and all these sort of things, and it is a game for him if we're going to play. But I don't know, my natural bias in these top 6 games is to get a bit more industry in this middle, but there's no industry, so we need the creative outlet. I already said Lacazette's form has been atrocious, but do we go with Lacazette and Aubameyang, both on in big games, and you go with Pepe? But if you go with that, you're potentially going to have to leave out Mesut Ozil. Or do you just concede Lacazette's probably got to drop to the bench because of his confidence? You go with Aubameyang. Again, I'm not too sure on Hector Bellerin and Martinelli's fitness, but you go with a Martinelli and you go with Pepe. Or do you concede Aubameyang, just do a job for me there, Lacazette there? I don't know, people. I don't know, man. Obviously, if Bellerin's fit, Bellerin would play for me. And to be fair, it could be a good thing, as much as he's ineffective on the flanks, considering that if I'm Chelsea and I'm going to target Saka because of his relative inexperience and not being his natural position, Aubameyang on the flanks, I guess Aspilicueta might think to himself, yo, let me not try and keep back up play and create too many 2v1 situations, because Aspilicueta is quite switched on, because if he gets in a foot race with Aubameyang, he knows it's not going to end well for him. So there could be a case to actually play Aubameyang on the flanks, go with Lacazette and go with Pepe. If Martinelli's fit, Martinelli plays for me as well, but isn't it a hamstring injury or whatnot? We need to be careful with that. You know what? Leno, Saka and Maitland-Niles by default. If Callum Chambers has served his suspension. If he's, again, I don't know if it's a 1 or 2 game suspension. I really should know, but I'm assuming it's 1. If it's 1, then I'm bringing David Luiz and Chambers into the centre-half. Now, David Luiz, purely because my bias is that this is going to be a game for ball playing and bravery on the ball. For all of Luiz's faults, he's got a pass and he's okay with the ball at his feet, even though he makes the wrong decisions. Chambers has just been, out of all the options, anyone that's looked close to being a centre-half. So Chambers, for me, if suspension is up, comes in. Obviously, if Bellerin's fit, Bellerin comes in. But Callum Chambers, Luiz, Saka, Maitland-Niles, obviously Leno. Midfield, obviously I'm going to go with Xhaka and Torreira. They've earned their spots. They were superb in their last game. I'd probably lean towards Maitland-Niles. I'm bugging out. Mesut Ozil. I'd go with Mesut Ozil. If Martinelli's fit, then Martinelli plays. But I'm going to go on the assumption of I don't know. So I'm actually going to go with... You're going to have to do a job for me out there. Aubameyang, man. Aubameyang on the flanks. Lacazette, you've been in poor form. I'm going to retain faith in you. And I'll bring in Pepe for Nelson. Now, Nelson's my guy, but he didn't really have the best of games. I feel Pepe's, you know, I don't know what he's showing or not showing in training to not get an opportunity, but I'll give Pepe a nod. So that would be my team. So, yeah, Leno, Chambers, David Luiz, Maitland-Niles, Saka, Granit Xhaka and Lucas Torreira, Mesut Ozil in the 10, Aubameyang on the flanks for me doing a job, retaining faith in Lacazette. He's really got to show me something, and I don't really have a leg to stand on because he should be on the bench, people. It's just what swayed me is just this potential scenario. I'm going to be honest. If Martinelli's fit, I probably would bring him back in, but Aubameyang, Pepe and Lacazette through the middle, people. So hopefully it's a good game against Chelsea. For me, I'm not expecting to win. I just want to see a credible performance. I just want to see them see a big game, relish it. And if we lose to the better team. But I want to see us taking chances, having a goal, defending like a football team. Just being able to come 90 minutes. If we lose, we lost to the better team. We didn't lose because this